Always plenty of speed, power, explosiveness, and talent to talk about at the running back position in the SEC. Mark Rogers TV talking top 5 running backs in the SEC going into 2015. We've got established stars. We have emerging stars at places like Missouri and Tennessee, and we also have that 2015 signing class that brings plenty of potential for would-be legendary status in this famed conference. Let's start with the top 5 and a very close call to separate numbers 4 and 5. Close in that these two guys play the same position at the same school. Their stats last season were almost identical, and they become so close off the field that they've gone from teammates to friends, and now they call themselves brothers. And, of course, we're talking about two guys that we've had on this list seemingly forever, Alex Collins and Jonathan Williams. Williams will be a senior this fall, and Collins will be a junior. That's what's going to finally separate these two guys in 2016 when Collins takes over as the clear number 1 back for this football team for Brett Bielema. Let's check out the stats. They're almost identical. Collins, 1,100 yards, 5.4 per carry, 12 touchdowns rushing. Jonathan Williams, 1,190, 5.6 per carry, and the same 12 touchdowns. He did catch 11 passes for 2 touchdowns as well. Collins is a little bit more shifty, and Williams more the classic tailback, college football classic runner from that position. Give it to him off tackle. Let him knock some guys over, power some guys for 5, 6, 7 yards, and sometimes if he's given just a little bit of a crease, explode into the secondary. Neither one of them are classic burners on the third level, but they hit the hole quickly. Again, Collins a little bit more shifty. He ran for 212 against Texas Tech and hit up Texas A&M for $131. Those were his 2 huge games from 2014. We separate Williams as number 4, Collins 5, based on Williams gaining the big yardage, the big carries in the fourth quarter against the better teams. Check out the games against Georgia, Alabama, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and LSU, and in the bowl game when Williams hit up Texas. In the Texas Bowl for 23 carries, 105, and a touchdown. He got the big carries and racked up the bigger yardage against the better defenses in the SEC. Collins 5, Williams 4. Let's go to number 3, and Leonard Fournette, who will just be a sophomore this fall. Fournette carried the LSU offense in place of a passing game and little threat from the quarterback position, completing like 48% of the passes. It went to the freshman, and he delivered. We heard the billing. We heard the hype. We heard the hyperbole about how good Fournette was going to be. He lived up to it in probably LSU's biggest win of the season against an Ole Miss defense that I considered, although not having brute force and power in the middle at the nose tackle and inside linebacker position, you could run on Ole Miss to a certain extent, but possibly the best defense in the country. 23 carries for $113 and a touchdown in place of no passing game. Leonard Fournette for the season, 1,034 yards, 5.5 per carry, and 10 touchdowns. Check out the loss to Notre Dame in the Music City Bowl. He carried it just 11 times for $143. That was probably the issue in the game. They should have given it more to Leonard Fournette. 11 for 143, 2 touchdowns. He had a kick return for a touchdown, and he passed for a touchdown. 4 total touchdowns in the bowl game for Leonard Fournette. And have you seen the signature play against Texas A&M on the road on Thanksgiving night? He looked like Herschel Walker back in 1980. Looked like Bo Jackson. And again, classic Herschel Walker against Tennessee and Bill Bates. That was Leonard Fournette on Thanksgiving night, and he will just be a sophomore, our number 3 running back in the SEC. At number 2, we go to a junior, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry really exploded onto the national scene against Oklahoma. Despite the loss for the Crimson Tide in the Sugar Bowl for 2013, he was a monster. He could not be brought down. This kid reminds me of Eric Dickerson, but a little bit stronger, a little bit younger. 990 yards, 5.8 per carry, and 11 touchdowns in 2014. TJ Yeldon has been the guy that we talked about, similar to Jonathan Williams, getting the important carries in the fourth quarter against the better teams. Well, TJ Yeldon's gone. He's off to the NFL. We saw him in the Combine this past week. Yes, there is still a stable of extremely 4- and 5-star talented running backs at Alabama. that Derrick Henry's going to have to fight off, and in particular, Kenyon Drake. But this guy separates himself based on sheer power and explosiveness. He is amazing. Big games for him in 2014. 17 for 113 against West Virginia in the opener. He hit up Mizzou in the championship game for 20 for 141, and against a Florida defense that was one of the best in the SEC, 20 carries for $111. And yes, he should have been given the football more in the college football playoff game against Ohio State. 13 carries for 95 yards. 13 for 95. That's a wrecking ball. 7.3 per carry against one of the best rushing defenses in college football. He was doing the job, but they got away from Derrick Henry, went to the pass, went to Yeldon. Henry, 13 for 95 against the Buckeyes. Maybe the Crimson Tide wins that game if Derrick Henry gets 20 carries. And now at number 1, we replace Todd Gurley with Mr. Nick Chubb. As a freshman, after just 31 carries through the first 5 games because of the presence of Mr. Gurley, Nick Chubb then exploded for 143, 202, 156, 170, 144, 113, 129, and then a mere 266 against Louisville in the Belk Bowl. Nick Chubb, as a freshman, it's amazing. We talk about quarterbacks being prepared for the college game in this day and age, unlike any other day and age. It's similar at other positions, like running back. Give Nick Chubb the ball. He's just a freshman, just a kid, but 38 times in that key win against Missouri to, at that point, move Georgia into first place and in control of the SEC Eastern Division. Again, he had 3 games over 30 attempts. He had 38 against Missouri, 1,547 yards. That's after just 31 carries in the first 5 games. 7.1 per carry, 14 touchdowns. He also caught 18 out of the backfield for 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb is the best running back in the SEC going into 2015. But again, he will be pushed by Derrick Henry. We've got the Bama back at number 2, Leonard Fournette at 3, and then the Arkansas boys, Williams and Collins at 4 and 5. Need to hear from you now on Mark Rogers TV.